All right. Good evening, everybody. This is the Fantasy Sports Boss. Welcome to Fantasy Football Live, Football Friday, Week 7. Of course, last night we had the Jacksonville Jaguars and the New Orleans Saints square off with the Jaguars coming away with a 31-24 victory. Painful defeat by the Saints yesterday. Dropped a short touchdown pass late in the game. And the Jaguars wind up escaping with the win there. We talked about that in the video that I posted this morning to wrap up. Going to go over the injury report, the final injury report of the week. And we just found out that Brian Hoyer will be getting the start over Jimmy Garoppolo for the Las Vegas Raiders amidst increasing chatter that Davante Adams could be traded. Also, Saquon Barkley was in the news today here in New York. Back page headline. Does not want to be traded, basically begging the Giants not to trade him. So we'll talk about that and everything else, plus start, sit, questions, and all that other good stuff. But if you're new to the channel, of course, hit that subscribe button and the notification button as well. So yeah, looking forward to a good show tonight. All right, we got our first super chat right out of the gate from Joe Castles. Thank you, Joe. I really appreciate that. Keontae Ingram or Wilson, I'm in a pinch with buys and injuries. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, Jeff Wilson, it's hard. That's a tough one. I would, both guys are question marks. Let's just put it that way. I mean, you really are in a pinch. I would have to say Wilson, not knowing how many carries he's going to get, though, whereas Ingram, he's going to get at least the starter's carry. But I think that the Dolphins would be in a better position to score. So really, when it comes down to it with both of these guys, you're just hoping one of them scores. And I think Wilson would have the better opportunity, obviously, on a much better Miami offense. So I would lean Wilson, but I really don't have confidence in either one of them. But if I had to choose, it would be Wilson. So, and again, thank you for that super chat, Joe. I really appreciate that. And as far as stashing Kyler Murray, I've stashed him in both of my leagues. He actually was available in both of my leagues, and I did stash him. And this is a guy who's like a top 10 quarterback when he's healthy. He may not run as much like he did last year, of course, coming back from the devastating knee injury, but Kyler Murray absolutely should be stashed. He's still got Marquise Brown there. He's got Zach Ertz. He's got, Rondale Moore. He's got good weapons there still to still be a very solid contributor. Darrell Henderson. I don't think it's Darrell Henderson's season. I'm kind of over him permanently, I think so. But anyway, so the big story, like I said, the NFL trade deadline. This is really interesting to me because it's going to be, it's on Halloween, and Davante Adams is not happy. And Davante Adams is one of those classic wide receiver divas, right? I mean, that all started with Keyshawn Johnson and, give me the damn ball. And it's gone over the years with Des Bryant and Chad Ochocinco and Terrell Owens. And just more recently, you have Garrett Wilson, CeeDee Lamb. And now you have Davante Adams, who's never been shy about popping off in the media when he's not happy. He's not happy on the Raiders, even though the Raiders are 3-3. Like, they've been competitive. They have an opportunity to post a winning record. I mean, they should win this game this week. But Adams is not happy. And I think he sees long-term, and he's only, barely into that big contract that he signed, with the team. But they're taking on a Bears team without Justin Fields, who's been ruled out. Tyson Badgett will be getting the start, the kid from Shepherd, the undrafted free agent. So it's going to get ugly for the Chicago Bears, to the point where I actually would think about benching DJ Moore or downgrading him to a flex at best. That's how bad it's going to be for Chicago. But anyway, as far as Davante Adams is concerned, does he get traded? I don't think he will, especially if they have a winning record. Like, what kind of message is that going to send? If you're the ownership and whatnot. So I don't see it happening. I think that's more of a move during the offseason. But if there is a possibility of him get traded, of Adams getting traded, Jerry Jones, this would be like a very Jerry Jones move to make, right? If he can make the finances work, and again, that's part of the problem, is this massive contract that Davante Adams has. If he could get Davante Adams to link up with CeeDee Lamb, like, that would be scary. Like, it would be downright frightening what those two could do together. And I think it would vault the Dallas Cowboys ahead of the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC East. Those two are going to be battling out the rest of the season. So Davante Adams, to me, would be a must get. Now, Saquon Barkley, back page of the New York Post today, saying, don't trade me. As a matter of fact, I have it with me. There it is. Don't trade me. So Saquon Barkley, knows there's a market for his talents, but doesn't want to go. So listen, I'll give him a lot of credit, Saquon Barkley. He doesn't want to abandon ship, whereas Devontae Adams totally wants to abandon ship. And this is, like I said, the Raiders are still winning games. The Giants are not winning games, but Barkley wants to stay. And I do feel for him. I think, the Giants organization has been very cold-blooded when handling him in terms of his contract. And he's a class act. I've met Barkley. I think he couldn't have been nicer. And the fact that he wants to stay on a team that's really, really strong, he's not going anywhere. And if they lose to the Commanders, I think that the chorus is going to grow to at least listen on offers. And to me, the team that quickly jumps out to is the Rams. Like Kyren Williams hasn't been placed on IR. I know they have to make a decision in the next 24 hours. But putting Saquon Barkley on a Sean McVay offense would be tremendous for all involved, right? It would soften up defenses for Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. Having a running back like Barkley under McVay's leadership would really boost his value as well. And the Rams offensive line has played so much better than I anticipated when it looked like they were going to be one of the worst units in football. So we have to see what goes on here with Saquon Barkley, because I started talking about this weeks ago. I think there is a possibility that he does get traded. How do I feel about Kareem Hunt going forward? He's a committee guy with Jerome Ford. So he's a flex at best for me. Very low end running back too in PPR. Rank Pickens, Addison Ford, Pickens. Pickens loses almost all of his value now. I know Pat Freiermuth has been rolled out, but Deontay Johnson is returning, and he is a target hog. And Pickens hasn't exactly been a target hog himself, and that's going to have a detrimental effect on Pickens' numbers the rest of the way. I wonder where Henry is going. Yeah, that's the other one, Derrick Henry. Haven't heard a lot of chatter there, but boy, things are really going to get ugly there without Ryan Tannehill, who has a high ankle sprain. So you're talking a month with Malik Willis. I mean, my God, this is going to be downright pitiful. Do they even listen on DeAndre Hopkins? That's a possibility as well. Rashee Rice to the moon this week. I'm feeling good about the start. Yeah, I mean, that definitely could happen. I actually, believe it or not, traded him. Say it ain't so, but I did. In my work league that I'm really, really looking good in right now, I traded Rashee Rice in a deal for TJ Hawkinson. So I traded Javonte Williams and Rashee Rice for TJ Hawkinson on this guy that I made the deal with also had Evan Engram. So he had Hawkinson as a spare part. He needed a running back badly because he's been decimated like everybody else is. So I traded him Javonte Williams and Rashee Rice, who, let's face it, and this is a very smart league. Everybody knows he's on the up and up. I don't care that Mecole Hardman is coming back to the Chiefs. He's only going to be a bit gadget play anyway. So I was pretty happy about that deal for me. But I still think Rashee Rice is going to be huge the rest of the season. Wide receivers, Ridley, Debo, and Amari. So, Mark, I mean, that's rough. So, if you're going to trade any of them, it's going to be Amari Cooper because you're not getting anything for either Debo or Ridley, who, Debo's hurt, Ridley's underperforming. Listen, Ridley did have Marcus Lattimore, and I didn't mention that on the video I posted this morning. Marcus Lattimore makes everybody look silly. I mean, we've seen him do this to receivers. So again, am I making another excuse for Calvin Ridley? Yes, but I don't think there's any doubt now that Christian Kirk is the number one guy. He's got a really good thing going with Trevor Lawrence, which was a bridge from last year. So Ridley could have been a wide receiver one. He was a wide receiver one in week one, and then it just really fell off the cliff. He's been bad in 4 out of 7 games now. He's like wide receiver 50-something on the season, which is unbelievably down from what we anticipated. So I'm concerned about him. I think Amari Cooper is your only bet there. And listen, if I came out of a draft with Ridley, Debo, and Amari, I'd be pretty stoked, especially with Amari as my wide receiver 3, even though I'm not a fan of Debo. But man, that just goes to show you just never know in fantasy football. And as far as Jordan Mason, I think he'll be solid if McCaffrey doesn't play. He was off to the side. He didn't start practice today. Debo Samuel did not practice either. So listen, there's a lot of problems for the 49ers in terms of the offense. Traded Bryce Young for Deshaun Watson, JST bench depth. That's fine. Deshaun Watson is expected to play this week. I still think that I don't think about Myles Gaskin at all. Grind don't stop. He's a non-factor for me. I think that Deshaun Watson still could be solid, like really solid. But he's just beat up, and I don't know where he is mentally. It's just very volatile when it comes to Deshaun Watson. If Cook and White do nothing again this week, and they drop material. If it's Dalvin Cook, he should have been dropped already. If it's James Cook, no. I don't think he dropped James Cook at all. No. Rachaad White, I mean, listen, we saw the writing on the wall with this last year. He's just not a good runner. He's a third down back. That's what he is. And he's being miscast as an every down runner. So, is he drop material? Maybe, but he's still getting the full workload. Yeah, Ridley suck of the week. I think he's already got it locked up, honestly. In a game that, was 31-24 to have only one catch. It's terrible. You just have to stop him. Yeah. Ridley, you're committed to him. You have to keep starting him. That's just how it is. Would you start D'Onta Foreman or Craig Reynolds? Yes, I would. It's a standard. I think Foreman, the matchup's good. He's a solid runner. Craig Reynolds is beat up, so I don't even know if he's going to play. Would you start Jeff Wilson this week? If I was desperate enough, yes. I think he'll get a decent amount of carries. They really like him. Mike McDaniel had him with the 49ers, and he did a good job. Wilson actually ran really well for them last year. Zay Jones is a missing piece. You're right, Robert. And that funnels down to everybody else. Who would you prefer this week between Elijah Moore and Samuel? Samuel's been really consistently good for 3 weeks now. Should disappointed in season 1. On my inconsistent Devontae Smith, Adams, Lamb, Watson. Yeah, Lamb hasn't been as good as I thought either, Johnny. You're right. That's really disappointing. Zach Evans gets the start for the Rams. So, you know what? Sean McVay may just go with the hot hand. If Zach Evans starts out really good, I think he can just keep going with it. If he struggles early on, he'll sprinkle in some of the other guys. And to me, it's just I'm avoiding that entire mess. I'm not, trusting a week 7 game with Zach Evans in there. I'm sorry. I'm just not. And by the way, that team that I had all those injuries on, I have a 25% chance to win. So, just 5-0, now 5-1, probably going to be 5-2. Browns D is an every week start. No doubt about it. We'll see CMC play. I don't think he will. I don't see the urgency to play him. I mean, they lost 1 game. Okay. So what? You have Jordan Mason, who's very capable. Long-term picture in mind there. Tyler Lockett, no injury designation, so he's good to go. It was probably just a maintenance thing. DK Metcalf, questionable, but he'll play. You know that. And how about Aaron Jones? So he's been limited the entire week. Matt LaFleur is a real douche when it comes to meeting with the media. He said today, did we play last week? Like it's not funny. Like nobody's buying his garbage. I'm definitely concerned about Aaron Jones again this week. And listen, it was my own fault. Like all summer I kept screaming, don't draft running backs 27 and older, right? Aaron Jones was 28. But I made an excuse for him because he doesn't have the amount of tread on his tires that other backs do his age because he's been in a committee for the last couple of years. But it doesn't matter. I made a mistake with Leonard Fournette last year under similar circumstances. I said never again. I did it with Aaron Jones. And now look what happened. He just can't stay healthy, right? So no Debo today. Pat Freiermuth officially ruled out. So Deontay Johnson, I think, can come right into the game this week and have double-digit targets. I really think he can get 10, 12 targets for sure. Darren Waller, rest of season, disappointing for sure, Eric. He's been okay. Like, he hasn't been terrible. It's really just the offense in general. This offensive line has lost 7 players already to injury. Like, it's scary how bad. They've signed 4 guys from other organizations' practice team just to fill out their offensive line. Like, they got, they signed Justin Pugh off the street, literally, as he said in the intro, the player intros before last week's game there. And he played left tackle. Like his first game in I don't know how long. Like that's just ridiculous. So that's the problem. They just don't have the time to throw to him. He doesn't even have a touchdown, though. It is disappointing. I have him in one league. I am trying to trade him in another in a deal for Tyler Lockett. Now that I got TJ Hawkinson in my work league. But it hasn't been great. But I still think he's so talented and such an athletic freak. You still start him the rest of the way. What defense you like other than Cleveland? I mean, I like Tampa Bay's defense this week. Let me just pull out the schedule here. I am playing Tampa Bay's defense this week. And somebody dropped the Jets defense in one of my leagues, and I picked them up because they have a good matchup next week against the Giants. The Packers defense against the Broncos, I know they haven't been great, but, if you're looking for somebody, the Raiders, they're taking on Tyson Bagent. And Buccaneers and Raiders, I think, are two defenses that might be available that you could pick up this week. Would you stash Zay Jones? No, I would not. I wouldn't do that. Njigba or Jameson Williams and Njigba's starting to come around, guys. So he's starting to, he's getting more and more targets. Very talented receiver, no doubt about it. And he's starting to get more work as the season progresses, which is what I thought would happen. So I like to see that. David Montgomery ruled out. Jahmyr Gibbs, no injury designation. So what you've all been waiting for, you Jahmyr Gibbs owners, a fully unleashed player, could happen this week, right? So it is a little bit of a rough matchup against Baltimore. That's not easy, but Jahmyr Gibbs only needs one big play, which he's fully capable of. He could take any touch to the house from anywhere on the field. That's what makes him such a big weapon. So I think there's some potential for him to have a really big week. Keenan Allen practiced today after a rest day yesterday, and boy, Keenan Allen's been so good. There's some guys like Keenan Allen, Adam Thielen, obviously Adam Thielen right at the top. There's just some value guys, Christian Kirk, who, receivers that you got in round, 4, 5, and 6 who have carried fantasy teams this year and have really had a major impact on the standings in your league. Those 3 guys in particular have had a really good value season all the way around. Adam Jones looked pretty good, but he was limited, so we'll see how he's feeling. That was Matt LaFleur. Again, we have to watch for Adam Jones or Aaron Jones right to the last minute. It's not easy with this guy. Roschon Johnson out again week 7 with a concussion. Major wasted opportunity for Roschon Johnson. With Khalil Herbert being out, the opportunity was there for Roschon Johnson to stake his claim as the starting running back for the Bears. He certainly has the ability and the upside. He hasn't been able to take advantage of it because he can't get on the field. He can't get through this concussion. Sounds like it was a pretty serious one. Justin Fields ruled out. He will not go on IR, which is good. Next week, I think, might be dicey for him as well. We have a thumb injury as a quarterback. It's a big deal, but they are not putting him on IR. Kyren Williams, obviously, he's out this week. No IR decision yet, so they have to do that by tomorrow. So if they put Kyren Williams on IR, which is a possibility, I think it's about 50-50 that we see him put on the IR. That would be a major, major loss because he's just been so good. Rob, I don't think Foreman is going to be that bad. We've seen even last year, Foreman was pretty solid as a runner, not as a receiver. We know that's not part of his game, but I think he can help you out in a pinch. All right, just going through the rest of that. Mike Evans had a rest day. He's fine. No issue there with him. Daniel Jones is questionable, so he hasn't been ruled out yet with the neck injury, but I think this is a little bit of gamesmanship by Brian Daboll. I don't think he's going to play. I know the winds are going to be very, very, very gusty. Pouring out today. It's going to be pouring tomorrow. There's some kind of system that's coming up the Northeast, and there's going to be extremely heavy winds, like 40-mile-an-hour gusts. That's what I'm talking about. So, Sam Howell to Terry McLaurin, that might be not a profitable connection in terms of fantasy this week. I think Logan Thomas could actually have a decent game. And this could be a good day for Darren Waller because the short passing game, I think, is going to have to be leaned on with such swirling gusts. We know how it can be in that stadium. Everyone but Tom, I can see Warren's a better back. Charles, you're right. Najee Harris is a committee back. Let's face it. And the problem is, too, when he was a rookie, he had the perfect quarterback in Ben Roethlisberger, the noodle arm of Big Ben, throwing him 70-plus passes as a rookie. And I saw right through it. Like I told you the next season when he was entering into his second year in the league, I said, fade Najee Harris everywhere now that Big Ben is retired because the short passes were not going to be there. He's not a good runner. He's yet to average 4 per carry. If you can't average 4 yards per carry in the NFL as a running back, you're just not very good. Jaylen Warren, no doubt, it has the explosive ability, but he's a small back. And I think that's part of the problem. They don't want to overwork him because like Kyren Williams, who's another small back who just got hurt, injuries would probably happen for Jaylen Warren. And I think that's why Mike Tomlin is doing what he's doing in terms of the workload. Buy low on Najee. Well, DH, I just explained that they have to do a committee because Jaylen Warren is not capable at his size of handling a full allotment of touches. And I would not buy low. No, I would stay far away from Najee Harris. I don't think I'll ever own him again unless somebody cuts him and I pick him up just as a depth piece. Like I've never owned him and I've never wanted to own him. All right, DeForest Buckner, Kyle Granson, we don't care about that. Daniel Jones is not ruled out. Like I said, I think Brian Daboll, it's a little bit of gamesmanship. He doesn't want to reveal Jones's status at this point because he wants to keep the Commanders guessing. But I don't think Daniel Jones is playing. Devontae Smith, he practiced today in full, so no issues there. He's got to get his season back on track, Devontae Smith. Like, it hasn't been good. That drop was really bad last week. If you owned Devontae Smith and you saw that drop that he had, that was really bad. Like, and it kind of was a microcosm of his season as a whole. The people thought Najee was amazing because of the 70 plus catches he had, and that was a tremendous number for a running back to catch 70 plus passes, no doubt about it. That was a big deal. Right? In a PPR league, any running back that catches that many passes is amazing. So that's why the following season, everybody wanted Najee Harris because, coming off such a big performance. All right. So as I do on Football Friday, I like to give you guys my weekly picks. So last week was 2 and 3. So that brings me to 15, 12 and 1, I believe, right? Let's see. Wait, hold on. All right, hold on one second. We got some news here. All right, Pete Carroll says DK Metcalf pretty sore from the hip injury in last week's game. He'll be a game time decision. Wow. Okay, so there you have it. DK Metcalf is a game time decision. Shit. So DK Metcalf owners start planning accordingly because now it looks like his status is pretty iffy. Game time decisions. So that literally just came down the pike. So if JSN obviously would become much more a bigger weapon in the offense. Tyler Lockett would then be the top target, and this is a good smash spot for the Seahawks. Geno Smith too. If he can't get his season on track against the Cardinals, we got some big problems there. But DK Metcalf is legitimately injured. Tampa Bay or Raiders are on. What do you think? I'm starting Tampa Bay. Traded Jonathan Taylor for Kupp. That's a really good trade. Jonathan Taylor for Kupp. I think that's actually a really good trade for sure. All right. So as far as the picks, like I said, 15. I'm trying to remember what the record was now. So what are we in week 7? So it was 30 games. I was 15. I want to say it was 15. I think it was 15, 11, and 1. I believe. 16, 14, and 1. I don't remember now. Oh, I remember now. All right. So it was 16, 13, and 1. That's what it was. So 16, 13, and 1. That was my record because I only won 2 games and had 14 going in. So yes. So 16, 13, and 1 is my record for going into this week. So listen, there's some tough games this week for sure. Now I like to give you guys 5 every week, and I have, I think I have a pretty good idea. So I do like the Rams over the Steelers. The Rams giving 3 at home to the Steelers. Kyron Williams not going to play, but the Steelers have just been so bad, and I don't like the way that they're playing. Obviously on offense with Kenny Pickett. I think the Rams are going to take this one by more than a field goal. So I do like the Rams giving 3. I also like the Atlanta Falcons getting 2.5 against the Buccaneers. Actually, you know what? Scratch that. I crossed that one out. It was the Packers. I like the Packers giving 1 to the Broncos. That was the other one. So I do like the Packers. Coming off a bye. I think that they have, they have the kind of offensive passing attack that's going to give Denver trouble. Denver hasn't stopped anybody all year. I think that there's just a lot of turmoil in that locker room. It's all going to shit. So I do like the Packers giving 1 to the Denver Broncos for my second pick of the week. I don't know if I want to do this. I'm looking at this 49ers-Vikings game. The Vikings look really attractive at 6.5, given all of the injuries that the 49ers have. I think it's going to be a closer game. Green Bay defense, yeah, and I think they're okay, but I wouldn't go crazy because listen, the Broncos can run the ball, and that's the biggest problem with the Green Bay defense is that they don't stop the they do not stop the run. Yeah, 49ers Vikings. I'm a little leery about that one. Well, I do like the Ravens giving 3 to the Lions. I think the Baltimore Ravens are going to beat the Lions. We know Jared Goff tends to struggle on the road, and 3 points not a big number. Baltimore has a lot of offensive weapons that they can keep pace with Detroit. No David Montgomery. Craig Reynolds is banged up. So I do like the Baltimore Ravens giving 3 to the Detroit Lions. I like the Raiders. Brian Hoyer at quarterback. I don't care. Cash with the Raiders last week. I'm taking them, giving the 2.5 to Tyson Bagent and the Bears. That's pick number 4. And then for pick number 5, man, this is tough. This is tough. You know what? Seattle giving 7.5 to the Cardinals is a really big number. I like Arizona getting 7.5. So I'm going to go with Arizona as well, getting the 7.5. So those are my 5 picks for the week. Hopefully we hit some of those, and 16, 14, and 1 we can improve. 16, 13, and 1 we can improve as we go along there. Any Rashid Shaheed value? You know what? They've thrown the ball over 50 times each of the last 2 weeks. Like, it's insane how much they've thrown the ball. Derek Carr looks like he's not healthy to me. Like, he's not throwing the deep ball well at all. I know he's connecting with Rashid for some big throws, but you have Michael Thomas, you have Chris Olave ahead of him. And listen, how about Taysom Hill? Nobody's talking about him now because he's not really a thing anymore like he was last year. But, more than 15-plus fantasy points at PPR each of the last 2 weeks. He's getting targets now. He's getting a decent amount of targets. So as long as Juwan Johnson is out, Taysom Hill is going to be a thing. So if you need a tight end, you could do a lot worse. Is anyone a good replacement for Rachaad White or McLaughlin? I guess. I mean, he got the majority of touches and snaps as a starting running back, the de facto starting running back for the Cardinals. That is a bad team. I don't like Rachaad White. That's a tough Falcons defense. I would roll the dice, I guess, and go Ingram over him, but I don't like any of them. Would you play Mason over White? Probably, yeah. If McCaffrey's out, I would definitely play Mason over him. If McCaffrey's playing, then no. Now, as far as Alvin Kamara, so it's got a lot of attention, how many, catches he has. I think I saw it on Twitter. I think he's only got like 7 fewer catches than Tyreek Hill does, and he's played 3 fewer games. So, like, the targets are just insane. But like I've said to you on the video this morning, Alvin Kamara is not anywhere near the athlete he used to be. He doesn't have that explosion anymore in his legs, but he is a perfect PPR back. He's getting tons and tons of looks in the passing game, just like Derek Carr did with Josh Jacobs last year. So Josh Jacobs really elevated himself as a player because he caught so many passes and was completely involved in the offense because Derek Carr was his quarterback and Carr loves throwing underneath. That has transpired with Alvin Kamara since he came back. So I think Alvin Kamara can continue this level of production, but touchdowns are not going to be part of the equation. Jamal Williams, who's back, he's going to be the goal line back. You have Taysom Hill, who could be used around the goal line as well. So in a standard league, Alvin Kamara is just not going to be as valuable. All right, $4.99 super chat from Stephen Drakes. Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate it as always. Do you have faith in Foreman or Atwell? Not Atwell. I do have some faith in Foreman. Atwell is now being lost in the shuffle with, Cooper Kupp back, Puka Nacua, Tyler Higbee still capable. They're throwing to their backs. There's no room left at the end for Tutu Atwell, so I don't trust him. I think Donta Foreman is going to get 25 carries in this game. The Bears, they're going to have to hide Tyson Bagent, and that means that it's going to be Foreman all day long. So just on sheer volume, and he has a good matchup against the Raiders, I would put Foreman out there. Would you drop Charbonnet and stash Gainwell? I think Charbonnet is a better player than Gainwell, so I wouldn't do that. Because, again, if anything happens to Kenneth Walker, he could be a top 15 back easy in PPR. Like, Charbonnet's a really good player. Anybody that saw him in UCLA knows he can not only catch it, he can run it pretty well too. Like, he was a really productive player for the UCLA Bruins. And I think if he were to become a starter, something happens to Kenneth Walker, and Walker's been really good, then Charbonnet could be a thing. So, Stephen, I would hold on to Charbonnet. And thank you again for the super chat. Keep Walker or trade high PPR. I wouldn't trade high. They're running the ball a lot, and he's collecting touchdowns like they're going out of style. So I would keep riding Walker. He's not a sell high for me. And he's actually involved in the passing game too, which is surprising. You like Jaleel McLaughlin this week over Rachaad White. The volume's not going to be there, right? Rachaad White's going to have the volume over McLaughlin, but McLaughlin has the ability to go, 0 to 60 and score from anywhere on the field, unlike Rachaad White. Based on workload, though, I still give the nod to Rachaad White because Samaje Perine, who was banged up last week, is playing. You have Javonte Williams there, so I don't think McLaughlin's going to get enough. It's a very small margin of error from McLaughlin in terms of getting points. He's going to have to really maximize his few touches, whereas Rachaad White's going to get a bunch of touches. May not be pretty, but he's going to be involved. Smith, Mayer this week, and your thoughts. Jackson Smith, if DK Metcalf doesn't play, he's going to be a top 24 wide receiver this week. Now, as far as Mayer, if Jimmy Garoppolo were playing, I'd be a little more excited about him. I did pick him up in one league because I want to see where this goes. But with Brian Hoyer at quarterback, I know Hoyer's been capable in the past, but I'm not using Mayer with Brian Hoyer there. No. We'll be messing with JSN's value. Yeah, but JSN, like I said, he's starting to find his way now in this offense. He's getting more and more comfortable. I think he's going to be a really good player. I really do, but he's got two guys ahead of him who are just tremendous players. Good streaming teams this week. Yeah, I mean, you could, as far as who, I would say Tampa Bay is a good stream and the Raiders as well. In a bad spot running back wise, I mean, you and everybody else, KJ. Should I drop Roschon or Chiefs defense? I'm sitting with this week for Donta Foreman, Murray, or Jordan Mason. I would pick up Foreman. I would drop. I really do think I would. I mean, Chiefs defense has been good, but I always drop the defense instead of the player. So I would say Chiefs defense. Roschon Johnson is really missing an opportunity to take this job. Khalil Herbert's going to be back eventually. Foreman's proven that he can still be a useful player. So I would drop the Chiefs defense and go with Donta Foreman over Jordan Mason. Will Zach Evans start for Rams? I think he will. And I think KJ, if he starts out hot, he's going to continue to get touches, and they're going to kind of take the training wheels off. I think that first possession that the Rams have, they're going to just see what Evans can bring to the table. And then if not, they're going to start sprinkling in some of the other guys. Darrell Henderson still knows the system. I think he could help as well. I'm not picking up Henderson. I'm not picking up Myles Gaskin. I'm not picking up anybody, other than Zach Evans, who I didn't even put in a claim on in either one of my leagues. He was a backup player in college, solid player, but he was a late round pick for a reason. But then again, so was Kyren Williams. Kyren Williams was a 5th round pick who didn't really have the prospect chops, wasn't really highly acclaimed, but in the NFL, he's been really good. So despite having a 4.6 number in the 40-yard dash when he went at the NFL Combine, talking about Kyren Williams. So he's kind of exceeded expectations so far, but I think a lot of that has to do with the system, Sean McVay's offense, that really makes most of the participants look good. All right, so Kyler Murray, just take a look here. Kyler Murray is not going to be activated this week, it looks like, but I think it's going to be coming soon. You're welcome, KJ. I think Kyler Murray, maybe another week or two, will be back in the field. I told you guys about David Montgomery. The Lions, I think after next week, have a bye, so that is probably when David Montgomery will wind up returning to the team after the bye week. Now's a good opportunity to get him healthy. Like the Lions are really looking like a contender to at least reach the Super Bowl. And they have Jahmyr Gibbs, they have Craig Reynolds, so they have decent depth. And I think why risk David Montgomery if you don't have to? So like they'll play next week, then they have the bye, and then they could bring Montgomery back. Now, anybody who owns Montgomery, you're a little bit nervous because you're like, oh man, I hope this isn't a DeAndre Swift situation with Kenneth Gainwell. Gainwell, of course, started week 1, and then he gets hurt. Swift comes in, goes nuts, and Swift hasn't given the job back. I don't think it's the same scenario because David Montgomery is a much better player than Kenneth Gainwell. And the system with Montgomery and Gibbs has worked, and so Dan Campbell's not going to go away from that. So I wouldn't worry about it, even if Gibbs goes nuclear, which he's capable of this Sunday. Damn injuries. Yeah, Armando, everybody's dealing with injuries. But part of the game. Reynolds, Sheets. Wow, yeah, not great. I mean, all those are part-time guys, unfortunately. I would say Zeke, the Patriots have been using him in really good situations. He's scoring a couple of touchdowns. He's catching the ball. I think I would use Zeke and maybe Ingram. Like I'm not using the other two. Justice Hill, He's behind Gus Edwards. He's very catch reliant. So I would probably say Ingram and Zeke. But that's, there's no confidence in either one of those recommendations. Worried about Bijan? Smith likes to destroy fit. Yeah, he does. I'm not worried about Bijan. Listen, the running, he hasn't run well the last couple of weeks, but he's catching so many passes that his floor is so much higher than almost anybody else, and all he needs to do is just catch one of those passes, gets into the end zone, the week is saved. So Bijan Robinson, it's like a bonus, whatever he does on the ground now, because he's catching so many passes. And he's the most electric running back in football already, in my opinion. Devin Acham looks to be just as electric. I think he's going to be. I don't think there's any reason to worry about him whatsoever. Is Murray fantasy relevant at all this season? Latavius Murray, very little, very little. Pick up Miles Sanders. He was dropped. Listen, I'm not. I think it's just a really bad situation for Sanders. I mean, you could as a bench guy, but I think Chuba Hubbard actually played well last week. Might have opened the eyes of this coaching staff, which is a smart coaching staff, a very accomplished coaching staff, that they're going to probably give Hubbard, again, at least 50%, maybe more going forward. Had Etienne, Kamara, and Ingram, Jags D. Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, that's a good start, Mark, for sure. You got off to a great start, actually. That's true. Thanks for you're welcome, Armando. Jay Smith or Pitts? I have Smith and my opponent has Pitts. Should I play this hand in one of my leagues? Jonnu Smith. I guess, Robert. I mean, Jonnu Smith's been involved. I think there's going to be a lot of passing in this game. You have very accomplished players on both sides, so I guess I would do it. You're never excited though about starting Jonnu Smith. In fairness, though, he's been solid. You had Rashee Rice or Hart. Oh, Rashee Rice, Eddie. Rashee Rice shouldn't even be available. Do you think we'll hear an update on C-Mac playing? Probably on Sunday, I would imagine. I don't think they're going to, usually these things, whether it's Ian Rappaport, Adam Schefter, these things start, or ESPN, these things start to trickle out ahead of time, usually 24 hours ahead of time. So I think we'll find out. But the fact that he was working on the side today, I know they had the extra day of practice, is not very encouraging for me in terms of Christian McCaffrey. Other league, 41 for Kamara, Olave not going to play. Yeah, Olave only 12 plus. I mean, God, he had 15 targets. He just couldn't get on the same page as Derek Carr, who's just not playing well. Jerry Jeudy, JSN, or Wilson. I would go JSN. I think JSN has done enough the last couple of weeks that he's going to be good. And listen, DK Metcalf, who's now a game time decision. Anybody who came in late, Pete Carroll said when he just met the media that DK Metcalf is going to be a game time decision. So, I mean, that's not ideal, right? So we got to see what happens there. I think he'll play. He always winds up playing, DK. And he gets banged up a lot, but I think he will be ultimately will be out there. So we'll just have to see. Let me see. I have an update on McCaffrey. McCaffrey working on the side with the training staff, step in the right direction, though not automatically enough for McCaffrey to be listed as a limited participant rather than DMP. So he's going to be listed as did not practice. So he's got one more day. So, I think there's at least hope for McCaffrey to play, but you're really in a bind there because it's a Monday night outing. All right. So, I mean, like I said, there's just a lot of injuries. I've never seen, maybe I say it every year, but I've just never seen this many injuries. Like, it's insane how many injuries we're dealing with. Like, it just doesn't stop. I mean, my one team is wrecked, completely wrecked. I'm going to lose probably 3 games in a row before I start getting guys back. Hopefully James Conner first and then Justin Jefferson eventually. It's a joke, like I was on such a high, had the best draft I ever had. 5-0 team, and it's all gone to shit. And there's just no end in sight. Like I have a 25% chance to win. And my opponent, of course, had Christian Kirk, who put up 19 points. $2 super chat from Mark Engelson. Thank you, Mark. Can I plug my buddy's new podcast channel? Yeah, that's perfectly fine. Absolutely. You can put it in there in the chat. I'm always looking to, I'm always fair about promoting other people for sure. No, you can do it. Don't worry about it, man. No issues. Thank you for that super chat. I always appreciate that. It does help with the channel for sure. So Joey Bosa practiced today with it. He's got a broken toe for the Chargers, so he played. I'm expecting a lot of point. This game is going to be insane. Like Austin Eckler, if you're an Austin Eckler owner, like it's to the moon. If you're a Rashee Rice owner this week, I mean, again, to the moon. Like finally unleash this guy. Put Rashee Rice in there. Let him do his thing. Just a major talent. Come on, Andy Reid. Let's go. How do you see Keaton Mitchell? I think I'd rather have Kareem Hunt. I mean, Keaton Mitchell is not going to be a bell cow guy. He's just not big enough. But he has like that Devin Achane kind of speed to really, put big plays together on a weekly basis like we've seen out of Devin Achane. So I would, if you need to drop a player, I wouldn't hold on to him forever if you're in a roster crunch, but I still think long-term they're going to take a look at him eventually because Gus Edwards is just not very exciting. And I mean, Justice Hill is what he is. He's a third down back, really. That's the extent of his value this season. How do you feel, Zach Evans? I'm curious to see. I don't really have an opinion on him. He wasn't really considered a big prospect coming out, even a moderate prospect. Like he was a 5th-round pick for a reason. He doesn't have a lot of body of work from college either, but I'm curious to see if it works. And he's in the right system. Let's face it. Trailside Dukes, check them out. Just 2 guys chatting about swear. Trailside Dukes. All right, Mark, and good luck. Tell those guys good luck with their channel as well. Thank you, Mark. No, I appreciate that. And thank you for that super chat. So anyway, so guys, as far as the rest of the weekend, like tomorrow, obviously I'll be taking the day off. I do have a game tomorrow. And Sunday, then the usual, like stream in the morning, go through all the games, and then stream in the evening like we always do. So, I don't think there's no Sunday morning game. And I hate those Sunday morning games, the 9:30 games. I just don't like it. There NFL Net, whether it's on NFL Plus or whatever the hell, like it's just annoying. Like especially when they're on these streaming services, I just don't like those Sunday morning games. I can't go that full day. Anybody who's married knows that game is just usually the throwaway game. If you have young kids, you cannot survive your wife's wrath if you're watching football at 9:00 in the morning all the way through the rest of the day. Now, if you're a bachelor, then great. You can do what you want. But if you got little kids, that's just not going to fly. Josh Palmer, Deontay Johnson, Josh Palmer in this game against the Chiefs. And listen, he scored last week. It was just brought back by a penalty. Double-digit targets, Josh Palmer. I'm using him in one of my leagues as well. So anyway. All right, guys, I think I'm going to jump out here, 40-minute stream, so I'm getting a little tired. Like I said, day off tomorrow. I will put up the weather video probably tomorrow because there's going to be ill weather, so we're going to have to talk about that. Enjoy the rest of your Friday night. Watch the college football tomorrow. I think Ohio State's playing Penn State, so that's a good one. We will all catch up on Sunday. Again, have a good Friday, guys, and I will see you on Sunday. Take care, guys.